Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Some HOAs like to do what they want and get away with it. Well, our OP showed that it can't last forever. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. My house in the middle of the street. When I pay my mortgage, I round up and divide in half. I pay half every other week, so my mortgage got picked up by another company when my mortgage company went out of business. To do what I was doing with the new company was $300 to enroll and an extra $40 each payment. Oh, hell no. I spoke to my credit union and they had an auto pay that would pay my bills from my direct deposit free. So nearly a year goes by and I get one of those scary letters, "You're in default on your mortgage. Unless we get X payment within 10 days of this letter, we'll foreclose." I was astounded since I'd never missed a payment and was actually paid a couple of months ahead. I spoke with their accounting department. It seems they couldn't accept half payments, only full payments, even though they had done so for a year. So the money had to sit unapplied until a full payment was accrued. That made sense, except again, they got more than enough, and it was always in there in full before the due date, so on the due date, they should have just taken it and applied it to the mortgage. So further digging, the rep says to me, "Oh, by the way, we have $8,200 of unapplied funds in this account. What do you want to do with it?" Pay my mortgage with it." "Oh, we can't do that." So I had to get a check cut for $8,200, pay $45 for them to overnight it to me, take it to my credit union, cash it, pay $25 for a cashier's check, and pay another $45 to send the cashier's check back to them. I called relentlessly to see when it had arrived and got all kinds of postal tracking, signature confirmation, etc. Remember, I only had 10 days to get this crap straight. So they get it and verify that it's applied to my mortgage and that there will be no foreclosure. The rep tells me, "Well, your next payment is due in 2 weeks and there will be penalties and late fees applied, so the amount is XYZ and we're raising your interest rate to nearly twice what it was before." "Oh no, this is all your company's fault." She says, "You knew these terms and conditions when you took out your mortgage with us." No, I didn't take it out with you. I took it out with another company and I was assigned to your company." "Well, don't be late with the next payment." No, I want to speak with the manager." So I finally get to speak with the manager and he wasn't much better. His only response was, "Well, you can always go with another company, but good luck with that these days. So many foreclosures and your credit's not very good for missing so many payments." So I decided to take his advice. I contacted my credit union, explained everything, showed them their own payment transfers and the mortgage statement showing the other company had received the money bi-weekly like clockwork, and the credit union took over my mortgage. I got a reduced interest rate and killed all the fees, penalties, and got the overpayment back. I applied it to the new mortgage payments, etc. So when a company acts like they have you over a barrel and tells you to try to go with someone else, do it. Yeah, they deserve to lose your business. Glad it worked out for you, OP. And our second story. Crazy Karen gets arrested. Disclaimer: I'm very Caucasian. This will make sense later on. So I work at a marina on a native reserve. The kind of marina that has a pump for boats and cars, and it's full service, meaning we go out and pump gas for the customers. We're in the same plaza as a restaurant, a tobacco shop, etc., all on land owned by the reserve. Super easygoing place. The management takes such good care of their employees. I couldn't ask for a better job. Yesterday, me and a coworker were going back and forth from lakeside pump to roadside pump. We were packed since it was Saturday of the Canadian Thanksgiving weekend and everyone was going out on their boat or going to their cottage on the reserve one last time before winter. On busy weekends like these, we have a police officer on the plaza to make sure people don't do stupid crap. Because of the pandemic, the reserve is only open to residents and people who own property on the reserve. People constantly try to sneak onto the reserve or park in the private marina parking lot. That's why the police officer is here to keep the idiot tourists at bay. We'll call the cop NC, native cop. NC is a super great guy. As someone who's not fond of police myself, I can vouch that this guy is one of the good ones. So during a big rush of customers, EK, entitled Karen, pulls up. So quick backstory. According to my boss, EK came to the tobacco shop every other day and would always complain about bad product or some BS like that. So when she pulls up, instead of telling me she's getting gas, she just walks away. I call back asking if she's getting gas, and the conversation goes along the lines of, OP, excuse me, are you getting gas? EK, no. Continues to walk off. Meanwhile, there's a line of cars behind her. OP, I'm sorry, but if that's the case, you're going to have to move your car. We have other people waiting for gas. EK continues to walk off towards the other side of the plaza. At this point, NC sees what's going on and goes to talk to her. I see a wave of realization wash over NC's face as he stops her. Their conversation is out of earshot, but I heard something along the lines of, how am I supposed to know? I know my rights, from EK, and ma'am, you're banned from the premises, from NC. They move back to the car. Meanwhile, I'm trying to calm people down in line who are all PO'd that this car's in the way. NC, ma'am, for the last time, you're banned from the premises for 30 days. That was 9 days ago. You still have 3 weeks until you're allowed here. EK, but I wasn't on Plaza property yet. I'm just at the gas shack. What right do you have to talk to me that way? NC, from that tree to that tree is also native land, and thus Plaza property. He gestures to 2 trees on either side of the asphalt lot. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. EK, what, so now an Indian can arrest a white woman? Am I right, man? As she gestures towards me, I obviously am taken aback and say nothing. Traitor, she mumbles. You don't understand how they treat me back there. NC, for the last time, you've been banned from the entirety of the plaza. You can come back in 3 weeks, but you have to leave the premises immediately. EK, but you're not even a real cop. You don't have any authority on me. Get off your power trip, Indian. NC, I assure you, ma'am, that I am a part of Reserve's Name Police Department, and if need be, I have full authority to arrest you as any other police officer would. EK, oh yeah, sure, buddy. I'm suing Plaza Name, and I'm getting you all fired. And gestures to me, too, who up to this point was back inside with a guy paying for his boat's gas and snacks. NC, that's fine, ma'am, but if you don't leave, I'll have to arrest you, and if you come back within the next 3 weeks, you will also be arrested. Realizing he called her bluff, she huffs, sits back in her car, and mumbles something like, damn red bleeps, and drives off. And that's the end of the story for today. The next day, the day as I'm writing this, it's dead slow. I mean, I've been watching Netflix all shift. Until I see my coworker walking over from the parking lot to start his shift. Behind him, I see EK being put up against a car and screaming as NC cuffs her. It's just barely out of earshot, but I see NC say what I'm assuming is the whole, you have the right to remain silent, blah, blah, blah. As this is happening, I can hear EK yelling. EK, what, so I'm getting arrested by an Indian cop? What a load of crap! I'm getting you fired. I'll effing sue everyone. And NC pulls her over to the other side of the parking lot, where I'm assuming the car was parked. It was far enough away that I couldn't see it behind the other cars, but could still hear EK yelling obscenities. Native cop filled me in on the details, later saying that she came back wanting to videotape the shop and all the health hazards, bad product, and health and safety issues there. Mind you, the process to open any store is meticulous. They won't let you open if anything is short of perfect, from what I understand. This store hasn't even been open for a year. All the equipment and everything is brand new. So NC gets wind of this and came back to arrest her. As he restrains her, she starts dialing 911. I repeat, she calls the cops on the cops. Her justification, he's an Indian cop, not a real cop. So NC has to talk to the other police department, then clear things up with them. Meanwhile, EK is screaming in the background. They later released her and are extending the ban indefinitely. Me and my coworker are laughing our butts off, as this is going to be a fun story to tell at Thanksgiving dinner. She'll be back. People like her never learn. And our last story. Why I hate my HOA. We live in a small man-made lake, so essentially there are a ring of houses around a lake which form our neighborhood. There are small pebbles that are strewn the last 5 feet in front of the lake all around to denote what is neighborhood lake property, as opposed to what is your own backyard. We don't have a separate lake association / HOA, it's all one body, so essentially our lake association is our HOA. We have geese that essentially live or lived on our lake. They'll occasionally come up into people's backyards, which I honestly kind of like, and most people don't mind. A few neighbors actively shoo them off their yard, but they're the exception. Anyway, I woke up one Saturday morning to find 3 of the neighbors who make an active habit of bothering the geese standing under a tree in my yard roughly 5 feet away from the pebble line. I know the geese sometimes like to sit under trees, especially with the weather getting warmer. One particular goose had been sitting under a tree in my backyard largely for a few weeks, and I'd not thought much of it. Anyway, on that morning, I noted the goose was moving away from the tree and squawking. So I walked out on my back deck down to the water line and asked them what they were doing. They explained to me that they were removing and destroying the eggs as the geese are a nuisance to the neighborhood. When I asked them what authority they had to do this, they told me they were the HOA. When I asked again what authority they had, they told me they had a meeting and agreed that geese eggs would be culled this year. I asked when the meeting was and did not receive an answer. I then asked them a third time why they were doing that. They informed me again that the geese were a nuisance and this was public property. At that point, I lost my temper. I told them, using some more colorful language, that this was my property, not public property. They then attempted to tell me it was neighborhood lake property, and I responded that it clearly was not, as the neighborhood lake property was clearly marked by the pebbles that are strewn the last 5 feet in front of the lake, not by a tree and grass in my backyard. Suffice to say, my HOA and I remain on bad terms. I've told them that if they're having HOA/lake association meetings to decide what to do with geese on my or communal property, I'd like to be informed in the future. They've not done so. Also, that particular goose hung around my property for a few hours, left, and has not returned. The rest of the geese left a day or so later, and we've not seen them since. It is a violation of the Migratory Bird Act. You all are right. This is likely to result in at least a considerable fine, but we're still working our way through it. That's probably all I think this should be, but again, the head of the HOA is still not being as reasonable as I would like, so again, F him. And he's getting what he deserves on this one. The sheriff did come out to take the report. The head of the HOA/Lake Association and I went through the time, incident, date, etc. He's going to try to interview the other 2 members of the HOA who were there later today. The head of the HOA is going to inform them when they get home. The sheriff promised to keep us both updated, but at this point, unless they have something different to add, this is looking like a violation of the act and a considerable fine. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.